Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, powers taken not given, joined as always by White House demolition expert John Cooper Paz of Counterpoint Politics, and joined by special guest Manny of at LA Stand-Up Comedian. How are you doing today, my friend? So glad to have you on the show.
TJ, I'm doing great, bro. I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Cannot wait. So, John, backstage, Manny and I were talking. We're trying to find a way to keep everything saved for air. I hate when I do that. It's like, I got stuff to say. But I was trying to think. I don't remember when I started following Manny. In fact, I didn't even know your name until you came on here. But did you recently change? Did you recently change your username on TikTok? Because I thought it was something else.
Nah. So I didn't recently. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I did change the name. I didn't change my username, but I changed I guess the profile
Like your
name
nickname,
that shows
yeah,
up.
profile name, yeah.
Yeah. When you get notifications, I changed that. So yeah, that's probably what you're saying. But no, I think we've been mutuals for some months now.
Okay, yeah, good stuff. We're trying this thing. We haven't been doing it a lot recently, but we try to show the folks a little bit about our guest. And I wanted to pull up this clip that I saw. I don't know when you made it. I feel like it was recent, but I thought it was really funny. Hope it comes through because these don't always show up audio wise very well. But let's go.
Batman's your favorite hero? I don't think we could get along. Your favorite out of all of them? He's a billionaire that beats women. Yeah, but those women are violent criminals, so a lot of self-defense. I'll give him that. But we know Batman will vote for Cuomo. Clearly, Batman seems like he'd be a kind of Zionistic. Personally, between me and you, he just gives me that vibe. And he's crazy. Yeah, he's crazy. If people are going to try to pretend he's not crazy, he's walking around dressed like a bat with military grade weapons. So he's probably money laundering that and weapons trading with Victor Boot. Batman's not even top the two orphan to me. Oliver Twist. Calvin Cambridge. He was an orphan and just started hooping for real. Batman's like 6'3". He's never hooped. I can't. No, I don't like any of this.
All right. I want to get to you on this, Manny, because I thought that was genius. Like all the way through, Batman is my favorite superhero, so it did kind of hook me, but I have a hard time arguing against any of those points. I thought that was fantastic, man.
Appreciate that, man.
John, what do you think? Who is your favorite superhero, and what do you think of Manny's takedown of Bruce Wayne there?
Yeah, no, I think Batman is a bad favorite superhero, DJ. Like I gotta just put it bluntly. Batman, excellent, probably top tier number one rogues gallery is Batman. But the actual character of Batman, yeah, he's fine. Like he's just kind of nothing. My favorite, this is kind of X-Men is my favorite universe. So that's not really like a superhero, but like that's my go-to. Magneto can be a hero depending on what version you're reading, and he's probably my favorite super character ever.
Manny, who's your favorite superhero?
Honestly, it's interesting you brought up Magneto. I do like him. I think he's very complex as far as like a character goes. I mean, I guess he's technically not. Is he technically a hero?
It depends what timeline you're in, man.
That's a part of it, though. I like complicated characters, but I'll say my favorite superhero is Spider-Man, especially as of recent, because I feel like he has the most like similar personality to me, and maybe even like Iron Man, because Tony Stark is very like sarcastic and quippy as of late, and that's how I feel like my personality could be at times.
No, fair point. I don't know. Spider-Man, yeah.
You would have been an excellent point guard.
Listen, like the Batman never hooped. Really got to laugh at me. The Batman is not even top 5 orphans. Hysterical. I thought that was amazing. Oliver Twist. I think I even commented how much I laughed at Oliver Twist.
Yeah.
But what really sealed it for me was Batman would be a Zionist, and goddamn, you're right. He absolutely. There is no. If I wanted to argue any of those points, that is the one I would argue the least. He would absolutely be a Zionist. He would absolutely vote for Cuomo. But look, never meet your heroes. Your heroes have flaws. We all know it. Nobody's perfect. But I don't know. He's also him like taking children and turning them into weapons not cool. That's actually not
Yeah,
cool too.
right.
But I mean, he's got a lot of strikes against him. I got to admit.
Yeah, no, a billionaire with technically child soldiers. Yeah, probably not the best
Yeah,
look.
yeah, not the best look. I gotta admit it. But all right, folks, we got a lot to cover on today's show. I'm getting pretty excited about this. John, did you hear by any chance there was this clip about this pastor? I wanted to bring it up in the banter section of the
Pete
show.
Hegseth's old pastor?
Huh?
Pete Hegseth's old pastor?
Oh, I have that one too. That's not the one I was going to bring up, but I got that one too. All right, that's great. Okay, wow, that's deep in the woods here. Okay, so this is a statement by Joshua Haynes. Is this the slavery one, John? Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. Yeah. He has like a mustache. Obviously.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, so Manny, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is a clip of a preacher who's talking about slavery and Christianity, and I wanted to get you guys' reactions on this.
And this is like for context. This is Pete Hegseth's pastor. Pete Hegseth has been on his podcast before.
Oh wow.
Let's go.
The institution of slavery is not inherently evil. No, you guys are upset by you guys saying I've been saying that for years. Okay, I'll take it a step further. It is not inherently evil to own another human being. I know. Wait, you guys are really upset, but let's talk through this because it is very important that every Christian affirm what I just said. And not only should they affirm it, every Christian in today's society should be able to defend what I just said. Okay? Every Christian should be able to defend it. Big evangelicalism has been getting this wrong for years, basically since Genesis, since the advent of Big Eva. Haven't had a good answer to the slavery issue. Right? Christians in America have been led astray on this topic. They've been led to believe things that the Bible doesn't teach. And when we go beyond the Bible, there are dire consequences.
TJ, you are muted, my friend.
Sorry, John, I want to go to you first. What were your thoughts upon seeing that video for the first time?
Obviously, we should go to me first here. I almost went and tried to find that episode. I got too lazy about it, but I did kind of want to hear his explanation. And I imagine what he is talking about is the fact that slavery exists in the Bible and God commands it at times and is cool with it. And so, therefore, I kind of agree with him through the theological lens of every Christian should be able to defend slavery. Now, does that mean you should be a Christian? That's a whole other question, but it's in the Bible. God says it's cool. God says there's specific rules for treating your slaves. So I understand what he's saying when he says we need to be able to defend slavery. To me, that's just a good reason not to be Christian. But, you know, as we normally say, TJ, I kind of respect the crazy theologian, super evangelical people because at least they're logically consistent. Because there's no real way to explain Leviticus without saying, yes, slavery is okay sometimes.
All right, Manny, your thoughts upon seeing this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the slavery to child marriage pipeline would be a thing with that pastor, right? Because I guess that's also permissible under certain parts of the Bible as well, right? If that's their text. Obviously, this is kind of something that's either been messed or probably I think has been always here. You know, the extreme Christian nationalist, the extreme Christian fundamentalism. Because even in the clip, I think he said "big evangelical," like it was some sort of. So it's like, you know how the far right doesn't think the alt right or whatever is extreme enough. This man doesn't think evangelicals, who are already like kind of out there, are out there enough relative to the Bible. So that's obviously something that I found very interesting. To John's point, I would be curious to see kind of what his explanation was with that and how he was trying to tie that back into, I guess, some sort of broader message. But yeah, man, some extreme stuff going on.
I think that I agree with John that his explanation would have probably taken us back to the book of Leviticus and the book of Exodus, in which God details exactly what rules you have that he enforces on people who own slaves, like who you can enslave, who you can't enslave, how much you can sell your daughter for into slavery, that men can be owned for 6 years and sold in the 7th unless, they decide to stay with the slave family that you gave them. I would imagine that he would say that slavery is fine as a punishment. That as long, like the Constitution, like we all know, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, except as a form of criminal justice. I think it's something I can't remember. Like unless you're in captivity as a prisoner or something like that, it is still legal to enslave prisoners, and we do in a lot of ways. So that's my guess of what he would go with. That it's actually okay to enslave people under certain circumstances. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what he's going to go. Like, I would be very shocked if that was what he...
Yeah.
I'd be very shocked if he went, you know what? We should just bring it back. Just economic benefit.
Yeah.
That's what God would want. I'd be very surprised if he went in that direction. But to kind of... I'm never, like, worried about crazy evangelicals unless they are in positions of power. Like, you're going to have crazy, ridiculous religious nutheads in every side of the aisle, in every religion, in every country in the world. That's fine. They can have their religious beliefs. But this guy, the problem with this guy is that he's so close to power, that he has the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, included among his flock. Pete Hegseth goes to this guy for advice. And this is something, the don't call us Nazis people don't seem to have much problem when they associate themselves with people and go on their platforms and talk to them and seek advice from people who say things like, owning people isn't inherently evil. As much as I believe in inherent morality, which I don't, but if I had to pick a couple of the things that I'd say are objectively evil, owning people is definitely one of them. It's just insane to me that anyone would hear that and go, that's my pastor. That's who I want giving me spiritual advice. And anyone who sees that and goes, yeah, Pete Hegseth, not a Christian nationalist. Yes, he fucking is. Like, I don't know how else to fucking put it.
I think that Trees Top nailed it when he said that this will be a mainstream talking point in 5 years, by the way. Yes. The trajectory that we're going, man, we talk about this all the time on the show. What have we haven't talked a lot of politics, but what have you seen over the years as far as the transformation in the rhetoric with people being more and more openly bigoted?
Yeah, I mean, the rhetoric has gone so far that I would say the Conservative Party doesn't even look the same anymore. They don't even conserve anything, right? I recently saw that. Well, let me take a step back. When I was growing up, we had conservatives that were fiscally responsible, quote unquote. Like they ran heavily on the economic side of things. They were like these Wall Street Journal Republicans, so to speak. But now you're seeing people completely throw out any kind of economic guardrails that they claim to be running on. I think they blew up the budget, the deficit to 38 trillion, which was the fastest increase that they seen for this time period. All for like this anti-woke culture war, deeply religious Christian nationalist platform, right? And it's another thing I wanted to point out about that pastor is that like it's very ironic because he'd be the type to call like say Zohran Mamdani or something
radical Islamist.
Yeah, radical Islamist trying to usher in Sharia law or something, while kind of calling for the same thing in the United States. A Christian nationalist state is just Sharia law West. When we think about it, the rolling back of women's rights, deep religious adherence, the disintegration of separation of church and state, like those are very similar tenets to the things that these people say they're afraid of.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly what you're saying there, man. Like this Christian nationalism, it is just whatever, like radical Islam, but for the West. It is the same sort of shit. And I remember, like, I saw a clip today of someone like asking, you brought up Zohran Mamdani, like, do you denounce Sharia law? How come no one ever asks these Christian politicians, do they denounce Christian nationalism? Because I guarantee you, if a journalist went up to Pete Hegseth and said, do you denounce Christian nationalism? His answer would not be no. I don't know exactly what he would say, but no would not be in there because at the end of the day, he does not. because Christian nationalists are a very big part of the Republican core at this point. And whenever you ask them, like I talk to people who are Republicans who are Christian, and I bring this up. I'm like, hey, does it bother you that like these people are hanging out with these Christian nationalists? They refuse to announce it, and they're like, well, I love my country, and I'm Christian, and I think everyone else should be Christian too. So if that makes me a Christian nationalist, then so be it. And I'm like, buddy, that's bad. That's really, really bad. Like, I need you to understand just how bad that is. They don't give a shit. They just disassociate themselves. They're like, you're using a scary word. As long as I'm not scared of it, then it's not bad anymore. And that's basically their argument whenever you bring it up.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, John. I think that that's the answer you would probably get. That I'm a Christian and I love this nation, and if that makes me a Christian nationalist, then by God, I'm a Christian nationalist. It's a really weird thing to me that we were all taught how bad nationalism was when we learned about World War I in 7th grade.
Yeah.
I remember, like, to this day, I still remember them talking about how hyper-nationalism led to the death of the unnecessary death of millions of people. And maybe we should avoid that. It's okay to like your country. It's okay to love your country and care for it and want to make it better. But once you start, jingoism, my country, right or wrong, you're going to end up, well, where we are. And we should have known better after it happened with the Iraq War and everything. But I don't know. Let's get into some really funny news, guys. How do you feel about that?
I love funny news, TJ. What do you got?
All right. So I want to start off with a hilarious topic, and that is Trump repatriating the victims of the boat attack in the Caribbean. So the Trump administration to repatriate survivors of drug boat strike to Ecuador and Colombia adds, it is unclear. The Trump administration plans to repatriate back to Ecuador and Colombia the 2 alleged drug traffickers who survived the U.S. military's recent boat strike in the Caribbean. Trump announced on Saturday that the 2 survivors of the boat strike by U.S. forces, which killed 2 other, in quotes, narco-terrorists, will be transferred over to their countries of origin for detention and prosecution. It is unclear if Ecuador and Colombia will prosecute the alleged narco-terrorists or if they will be released. The transfer of the survivors comes after they were detained on Thursday following the strike and transferred to a Navy ship where they received medical treatment. The 4 alleged drug traffickers were traveling in a semi-submersible that Trump said was heading to the U.S. on a well-known narco-trafficking transit route. And the vessel mostly had fentanyl, but also other illegal drugs. Trump stated it was a great honor to destroy a very large, all caps, drug-carrying submarine that was navigating toward the United States on a well-known narco-trafficking transit route. The president wrote in a post on Truth Social. U.S. intelligence confirmed this vessel was loaded up with mostly fentanyl and other illegal narcotics. Trump said that no U.S. forces were injured in the operation and claimed that 25,000 Americans would have died if the submersible reached the U.S. shore. John, I'm going to go to you first on your thoughts on this. Does the fact that Trump said drug-carrying submarine in all caps change your opinion of this from what I heard last time? Oh, no, now I can't hear John. What is happening today?
My bad. I was teeing up a video, so I muted myself.
Oh, okay. I was like, what is happening?
the fact that he said submarine in all caps, that really changed my mind. Like, you jingle keys in front of me, the rest of the world goes away. Like, the first time he blew a boat out of the water, I was like, any other president, I would be against this, but also assume at least it ostensibly was drug traffickers. With this president, I have no fucking clue. He has MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. I'm sorry, I don't believe you. And then the Colombian president comes out and says, hey, that wasn't even a Venezuelan boat. That was our boat with Colombians that you killed. And Trump was like, fuck you, I hate you. You're a loser who's trying to kill Americans. And now, this is the wild part. I want to play this. Did you see the reporter ask him the very important question about this?
Let's see. What is it?
I'm just going to play this.
Yeah, let's see it.
All right.
Some alleged smugglers have survived some of these recent strikes and been sent back to their home country. If they're terrorists, why not just arrest and detain them?
Go ahead. 2 points on that. First, when I served in Iraq in 2005 and 2006, we used to, in sort of a gallows humor way, talk about the Iraqi catch and release program, the reality that we would catch a lot of people, hand them over, and then they would be recycled back through, and we'd have to recapture them or attack them again. And that's why changing the dynamic and actually taking kinetic strikes on these boats ought change the psychology of these foreign terrorist organizations. To those two that survived the shot on the semi-submersible, think again, compared to Iraq and Afghanistan, the vast majority of people that we captured on the battlefield, we handed over to the home country. Did we always like how it shaped out? Sometimes we did, sometimes we did not. But 99% would go to the Afghan authorities or the Iraqi authorities. So in this case, those two, they were treated by American medics and handed immediately over to their countries where they came from, hopefully to face prosecution, which is a very standard way of handling something like this.
So that is the question. That's the $1 million question here. If these guys are terrorists, why not detain them? And Trump couldn't answer the question. He just deferred to Pete. And I loved Pete's answer. Pete's answer was, wait, let me buy time while I think of an answer by telling a story about when I was in Afghanistan, we were a bunch of pussies, and every time we caught a terrorist, we just released them like idiots. That's why we're just killing these motherfuckers now. To answer your question about why we released the terrorists, yeah, it's just normal, I guess, because the thing that I just called really stupid, we just continue to do. It's totally normal. Why are you asking about it? It's such a bad answer because there is no answer, TJ. They don't know what they're doing.
That's pretty funny. I hadn't seen that. My favorite part of that was hopefully to face prosecution. We return them to their home countries, hopefully to face prosecution.
They're not.
They're not. Yeah.
They're not being arrested in their home countries because they aren't terrorists or even contract.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. What did you see? Had you heard a lot about this, Manny? This entire ordeal with Trump bombing random vessels in the Caribbean.
Yeah, vessels. I mean, I imagine he called them submarines. They look more like they look more like kayaks. Honestly, I don't know how many narcotics you could hold on a boat that size. But my thing is, even if they are quote unquote narco terrorists, whatever happened to due process? Like, is that what Pete Hegseth thinks is catch and release, actual arrest and trial of people we suspect are committing crimes against the U.S.? Like. This whole ordeal, and like to John's point, even the answer that he gave was basically a circular reference where he said in Iraq they had a catch and release program. Now we have a kinetic strike to change behavior, but when we do actually catch two, we release them. So it's just catch and release plus kinetic technology. So like, I don't know, man. Like this administration's all over the place, and this is par for the course. You just have liars in office. So
also, since you mentioned it there, Manny, TJ, I have to ask you. Is kinetic strike an actual term the military uses, or is that just a word that he thinks sounds smart and therefore he uses it? Because it just means like a forcible strike. Like every strike by definition
is a kinetic strike.
Yeah, they do telekinesis.
Yeah, there are no potential strikes. I guess there are potential strikes. I mean, if you think about it, if you have the unplanned one. I don't know. I've never heard the term, but that doesn't mean it's not one. So I'll have to check on that on kinetic strike and everything. But you're right. Yeah,
he was only an Army Ranger. Maybe someone in the Marines would know the answer.
He was. Listen, like Pete Hegseth cracks me up. Like Pete Hegseth, I think he was in the National Guard for like 10 years. That's his experience in the United States military. The dude has never been a company commander. I'm amazed. I've never imagined we'd have someone with this little experience as the Secretary of Defense. I mean, his most recent job was that he was a Fox News host. That's what he did for years. That's how I knew him. That is some wild stuff. So you guys made some pretty good arguments, but let's see what the Republicans have to say. Let's see what Rand Paul has to say about this. Maybe he can help defend why Donald Trump went through with this.
We have dangerous people in a lot of American cities, but we just don't go in and shoot them. I mean, we have trials, they get legal representation. And even on the high seas, it's been that way for generations. If you go off the coast of Miami, the Coast Guard will be stopping boats today. And about 25% of the boats that they stop that they're suspicious of drugs, there won't be any drugs on board. So 25% of the time, the suspicion is wrong. And that's why we don't shoot and just blow up boats off of Miami, but neither should we be blowing them up off the coast of Venezuela. Number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats. In order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likelihood going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. It's supposed to be thoughtful. It's supposed to be debated. And we're not supposed to do it willy-nilly. And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence and convict them.
All right, so not a strong defense there by Rand Paul. I did want to go into a few things that he said there. That first off, what I wrote down here is that he mentions a great point that we have lots of people who are dealing in drugs in the United States, either on United States proper on U.S. soil, or that the Coast Guard interacts with in the water. And I guess the Coast Guards are a bunch of pussies, John. They're not killing anybody. They're just intercepting these boats like cowards. I don't know what we're paying these guys for. But I did like that he had to kind of betray the indelible stamp of his conservative origins. But I think he said it twice, maybe 3 times, that you can indiscriminately kill people in a war. He said that multiple times. He caught himself at the end and said, well, actually, there are rules of engagement. That was only mentioned once. That was weird. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy is a true blue Republican. Like death is great. Let's just go through with this. But great point about the fact that fentanyl isn't made in Venezuela at all, like Trump's immediate justification for this. I am wondering, do you think this is going to lead anywhere? Because this is essentially what everyone's saying, that this is essentially an admission that, oh yeah, we actually have nothing on these guys. We literally committed multiple murders and are saying just my bad. Do you think there would be any reaction from this, John, whether internationally or nationally?
I mean, what's going to happen, DJ? Like something that really puts into stark contrast, like just how far down the evil hole we've gone. And don't get me wrong, America's been evil for a long time. But remember when Obama was president and he bombed, I'm forgetting his name, but he airstruck an American citizen who was allegedly part of ISIS?
Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda, yeah. One of the Middle Eastern terrorist organizations. And that was a big controversy. Huge controversy because he's summarily executing an American citizen. And the justification was, well, he's not on American soil. He's part of a foreign terrorist organization. We're allowed to do this. At least in that instance, we were like 100% sure he was part of that organization. And now we're just blowing random boats out of the water and just saying, yeah, well, they're trafficking drugs, which is makes them terrorists as long as we say it does. And we're just blowing people up now, just for funsies. And that is how far we've come. Where, like, Rand Paul, at least, is still against this. But the majority of Republican Congress back then would have been against this, too. And in just 10, 15 years, now we're here. And it's sad, but there's who has the power to stop it? No one. At least right now, no one has the power to hold anyone accountable. Go on and kill hundreds of thousands of people. And there's no one that can stop them. Is Colombia and Venezuela going to go to war with us? No.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Anwar al-Awlaki. That was the American Al-Qaeda member who assassinated there. And we got Chris says a kinetic strike is one where the exact time and place isn't known beforehand. It's kinetic and that the details of the strike are changing in the moment. Thank you for that, Chris. Appreciate it. All right, Manny, your thoughts on what Rand Paul said. Is this man a traitor to the United States of America? Does he want the terrorists to win?
I mean, if you ask Trump, yeah, I think that would be affirmative yes. Anyone who isn't a sycophant for him is, I guess, an enemy of the state in his eyes. I'd say, yeah, I like the point that Rand brought up about there being zero fentanyl being produced in Venezuela. Additionally, one point I'm kind of going back here, though. That article said that boat being struck down would have saved 25,000 lives. I think that's about half of all gun deaths in the U.S. So probably a bit of a stretch on such a small boat. So yeah, that was just a point of clarification on that. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, to John's point, I think we're so far gone. It's like if you look at the Trump administration, he's done like 100 things more controversial than say like Watergate. I know Richard Nixon is rolling over in his grave right now. He's like really like that wouldn't have even made the news. And I think that's just a symptom of Trump being a charismatic kind of leader of this cult of personality. I think it is very unique to Trump. And additionally, just with the proliferation of news and social media, it's like the average citizen trying to keep up or keep involved is basically drinking from a water hose, trying to keep up with all the news from this administration, which I think is also deliberate. I think they're just like breaking so many rules so fast that it's disorienting to the average American who doesn't like Trump. And then again, like his cults really can see him doing no wrong, especially if it's against like brown people, unfortunately. And my last point is I think the only pushback you'll see from MAGA is like, I don't want to jump subjects here, but maybe like the Argentinian bailout and the Argentinian beef kind of cutting into the profits of like ranchers and farmers who fall into maybe like a more MAGA or conservative umbrella.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, I completely agree with you on that second point. Like that domestic troubles is going to be way more influential within the Trump administration than anything he does in foreign waters. Again, Americans just aren't going to care. But I love that you brought up the 25,000. Like if that boat had reached American soil, it would have killed 25,000 Americans. Okay, I know that this is a made up bullshit number, but I do want to like take that seriously for a second. In order for it to kill people, Americans have to choose to use the drugs. So my question is, why don't you just take some personal responsibility and not be a fucking drug addict instead of relying on big daddy government to blow boats out of the water for you so you can't get your drugs? Just saying. Just a question, TJ. What do you think?
That's great.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I do like to flip that on people. I use that a lot whenever election time comes up. And for example, during the last election cycle last year, people said, Joe Biden has ruined the economy. We got all this inflation. So I was like, I've been doing fine. I don't know about you guys, but I never have a problem paying my bills. I'm doing okay. How about you stop bitching and expecting the government to be a nanny state and take care of you and take some personal. It's great. You can use it on any time because, conservatives love whining about this stuff all the time. I do want to go with what you mentioned, Manny, with the farmers and everything. This has been is hilarious the right word? Because it's the word I want to use. A hilarious situation. For those of you wondering what he's talking about, starts back to when Trump enacted blanket tariffs across the world, really. Just an insane. And once again, we've mentioned before, there is a time and place for tariffs. Like you can argue that it can be an effective tool to help shore up domestic production, fine. But what Trump did is like, nope, randomly assigning massive tariffs around the world. And this is kicked off a trade war with nations who can afford to do it, like China. And China has, in turn, raised their tariffs on American products and specifically on soybeans. So now American farmers who sell annually about $12.5 billion worth of soybeans a year to China have sold, it's October now, a year's almost over, they have sold $0 of soybeans to China. And this is also add insult to injury because China is now buying their soybeans from Brazil and Argentina. Argentina, which is a country we're giving a $20 billion, I think it's $40 billion now, $40 billion bailout to Argentina. And listen, I've heard I'm not nearly as optimistic as you guys about the farmers and about the domestic backlash against Trump, because 9 out of 10 of them that I hear have said, listen, like, we want Trump to help us out. We still support him. We think he's made a mistake here, but this isn't the whole thing. Like, we still support Trump with everything else, and I would have voted for him again. I don't know. I think that people looking on the outside in, but as far as the people, if you voted for Trump in 2024, you're in it for life. I don't think there's any turning you around. I think that they will go down with the ship, absolutely, even for their pride. They're not going to admit that they did something wrong. But watching him tank the economy is going to sour, I think, your general American populace on Trump and his economic policy. But I don't know. We'll have to see. And any last thoughts on that, John?
No, I mean that's pretty much. I mean, this entire theory of like legal theory behind this is so insanely flimsy. Again, he's going to be fine because he's doing it in his official capacity as a U.S. president, and he has immunity for that. And there's no country that can hold the president of the United States accountable other than the United States of America. So that all sucks. But I hope someone gets held accountable for this shit. As much as like I would say there's far worse things he has done. This is just wrong. Like on a level that I really wish other humans shared with me. Just saying they're trafficking drugs, therefore we're taking this thing that was always all of human history. Drug traffickers have been standard criminals, not terrorists. Like, the idea of calling them a terrorist stretches the entire idea of what a terrorist does. Call drug dealers a lot of things. They don't inspire terror. Usually they inspire the opposite. And yes, drugs are deadly and they kill people, but there's 1,000 different ways to deal with that doesn't involve just blowing drug boats out of the water without ever presenting any evidence that they're drug boats. It's so clearly and obviously just a legal reasoning in order to inflict, flex your muscle, your fascist fucking muscle, and say, I can kill people because I want to and I can get away with it. That's it. That's the entire thing. And it's so sad that I have to sit here and be like, it doesn't fucking matter because no one gives a shit about that. It makes me upset, TJ.
Yeah, it does. It does. And plus, I mean, like you mentioned, John, selling drugs has never been a death penalty offense. I mean, if it were, I don't know about you guys, but I sure as hell wouldn't be here. But I want to bring up this comment here, John, just for the two of us, honestly. Mark says, now John's mic sounds like shit. Did TJ get a new mic? Can't they pay a high school TikToker to be a sound engineer? Or can they not afford paying them a living wage? First off, Mark, screw you. All right. Second, I have the same mic that I've always had. Third, the mic that sounded like shit last time was when I was in Indiana and I was doing it from my office. And John's microphone sounds fine now. It was cutting out earlier, but did you notice that, John, that your microphone was cutting out? But it's fine now.
I did not notice it cutting out. I did know the voice was cutting out a bit. So that's also possibly, I'm feeling a little under the weather today. I don't know. Maybe that was just it. But sorry, Mike. If you make a donation, I will buy a new mic. If you want to pay for my new mic, you can do it. I'll go have you with you, Mark.
I love it. And I want to get to this real quick before we move on. Chris commented here, not saying slavery in the Bible is necessarily defensible, only that you can't defend chattel slavery with the text of the Bible, son of Ham stuff, and papal decrees on the other hand. Yeah, so this is something I hear a lot. I don't know if you guys have heard this when people discuss slavery, and that the Bible clearly does allow for slavery. And they'll also bring this up when they say that, slavery existed in Africa as well, not just the United States, as if that fucking matters in the conversation. But one thing you'll hear people say is that, well, in the Bible, it wasn't chattel slavery, so it's not that bad, which is the same argument people say with Africa, that, well, that wasn't chattel slavery, so it's not that bad. I'm willing to go on the record here and say all slavery is bad. I don't need degrees when it comes to my slavery, right? I'm willing to grant you that some slave owners and some slave systems were better than others, but I kind of draw a hard line owning people as farm equipment, owning people as property for any length of time as bad. I don't need people, judging it one way or the other. I won't throw it to you guys to talk about that one, but that one just kind of bothers me. John actually sent his Venmo.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. All right, good stuff. All right, John, where should we go to next?
So we got a couple things we want to talk about. We definitely are going to talk about holidays. I know we talked a lot about that last week, but we got more holiday talk incoming today. But let's stick in the realm of politics. Do we want to talk some Graham Plattner, TJ?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Graham Plattner.
All right. So we talked about Graham Plattner on Tuesday. If you are watching the show now and you missed that, well, next time, make sure to hit that bell icon after you subscribe and know when we're going live. But on Tuesday, we basically discussed the article written about it. He hadn't really responded yet, but here's the situation. So Graham Plattner is running for Senate in Maine. He's running Democratic primary and currently leading, I believe. And he is our kind of people, right? He is a left-wing populist. He's running against the establishment candidate. He wants to make the Democratic Party more progressive, more or less, right? And he's also a white guy, very, blue-collar aesthetic, ex-Marine, I believe. Kind of just has that whole shtick going for him to appeal to the, we'll call it the median voter, right? However, it comes out the other day that Graham Plattner has a tattoo on his chest that is a Nazi symbol, apparently called the Totenkopf or something like that. And he says he got it back when he was in the Marines or was the Army? I forget what it was, but he got it when he was deployed. Didn't realize it was Nazi symbol, just thought it was a normal skull, right? So that is what we discussed on Tuesday. And what we discussed on Tuesday was whether or not we believe him. It's political malpractice that he ran for Senate and everything and never got this cleared, never got it checked out, never nothing. And B, his campaign is the one that put this out there originally in order to get ahead of it because they knew Oppo Research would find it. And they never got the tattoo covered up or replaced and just said, yep, I got this, just so everyone knows. And that is political malpractice. That is, whether I believe him or not about what the circumstances were behind it, that was devastatingly bad for it. Not already. It would have been a very appropriate response to go, oh yeah, I had this thing, and someone told me it was not, I got it covered up. Look, see. That's all he would have needed to do. But before we get to the video of this, I do want to talk about that.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, John. It's like muted or something. Is it like covered? It was a real hard time hearing you. Okay, all right. Oh, did we lose John?
Yeah, he froze a little bit. He's still frozen.
Oh no. This episode has been a train wreck start to finish. Wow. I don't understand. That is ooh boy. John, are you there? Are you back? Yeah, here we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying before we get to the video of his explanation, which I want to look at, I want to talk about, and I want to talk about, do we believe him, and what does one need to do to seek forgiveness in today's day and age in the realm of politics? But Manny, had you heard this story before we told you we were covering it? Were you following it?
Yeah. So I heard about this story. I'm loosely familiar with it, and I don't know. My thing is, I think you made a great point. You phrased it perfectly. Political malpractice, and I think that's the best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people that are defending his tattoo are people who I would say are leftists that oftentimes don't want to work within the existing systems. But like, to the DNC's credit, and not to sound like a DNC shield, they would have caught this. And that's the kind of stuff like you can't have happen. You know what I mean? Like, look, like having great politics is like the bulk of it, should be the meat of it. But unfortunately in politics, optics matter, how you roll out things matter, marketing matters. And so I think like this should have been caught, first of all. And secondly, do I think he knew? My theory is, if someone tells you to get a tattoo on you, like with your boys or whatever, and you have it on your body and you're looking at this for 18 years and you're a Marine, it not once in those 18 years does this click that that looks like the thing on Schindler's List or whatever movie like these symbols are appearing on, and like, am I going to say Plattner is a Nazi? I don't know. I don't think so necessarily, but like it is gross. It like almost gross negligence at that point. To John's point,
you're either Nazi or negligent, and one is worse, but neither are good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is that I had never seen that symbol before. I didn't know that it was on Schindler's List or anything. When I heard this story and I saw that this guy has a tattoo that has ties with Nazi symbols and stuff like that, I was more than willing to. I still am. I'm more than willing to accept that he didn't know what the tattoo was or anything. But it's just that the political miscalculation there is just like there are a ton of things you could have done with this. What we talked about last time is that the actual move to do in today's politics would just be to ignore it, to just say, no, what are you talking about? I don't know that's not a Nazi symbol. It's weird that you're bringing up Nazis. You're the real racist here. That's what actually works these days. But, going through with it and not planning for it, I mean, was that the plan all along? I have to wonder. Like, did he say, okay, I have this, and they found it? We're just going to come, because they didn't have to say anything, right? They could have deleted the posts. They could. I mean, I have to know, was there such concrete evidence that he couldn't hide it? Was there something like in the Library of Congress with that picture that they couldn't touch?
He had public videos out there, like it was going to be found. And this is the thing. I read a report saying that it was his campaign that released it. We have a comment here saying that the Mills campaign did. Mills is the person that he's campaigning against in the Democratic primary. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong that he released it. I mean, that is I double checked.
That's what I heard. Oh, okay. That's what I heard.
I was getting conflicting reports about this, and it definitely said it came from his campaign. He released it to the Pod Save America guys to talk about it. Like that. That's what I heard. So if he didn't release it and someone else released it and he's responding to it, it makes me feel better about him. Not that he didn't catch it first. That's still a problem. Yeah. But at least it's not as dumb.
Yeah. And so Colby questions here. When or where do we draw the line at someone trying to be a better person? Look, that's not a bad question. It's not a bad question because, look, if I ran for office, you could find 1,000 statements or quotes and stuff that I made that would be super controversial. Maybe none Nazi related that I know of. But, but what you have to do is, we talked about last episode, what I do is I look at someone's body of work. If I see someone say something that could possibly be interpreted, like say in the least charitable way possible, like as something like really bigoted, or I was like, okay, that's weird. But everyone has a statement like that or a symbol. And then I look at your past actions and everything that you're saying lines up with that. All right. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that. If there's nothing there, I'm like, okay, well, maybe you are telling the truth. Then Chris commented here, no one but a Nazi buff or historian would know it's a Nazi symbol. You know it. I think I might agree with that. I've never seen it, but Jesus, I am a kind of a big history guy, but I don't know. I never saw anything about it. But if that's the case, that someone else did catch it and then he reacted the way he did, it does kind of explain the poor reaction, I think. Well, what do you think, Manny?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. Like, because I wish I knew a little bit more about his background. Otherwise, I heard some rumblings about like a Reddit thing, but I haven't been able to verify that myself. Because to your point, like if it is just an isolated incident, which is like, tattooing a Nazi symbol on you is kind of a big isolated incident. But if his otherwise body of work is fairly unproblematic, then maybe there is something to be said about like giving people space to make mistakes, even if they are seemingly egregious or malpractice.
So I want to show the video that Graham posted. It was him, and I will say I completely understand if someone is like, you know what, I don't believe him. I don't fucking believe he had a Nazi tattoo on his chest for 18 years. That's problematic. He said some problematic things in the past. I don't want Fetterman 2.0 here. I'm not going to believe him. I mean, if that's the case, that's fine. You just don't believe a guy. There's nothing I can say or do to make you believe him. And I personally, I lean towards believing him, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold him to a much higher degree of scrutiny now because of all of this. And I just want to play his video because I actually do think that, and it's a little long, it's a couple minutes long, so bear with this, but I think it's an excellent example of exactly the kind of thing I want to see from someone who has made a mistake like he did. So I will share this now, and here we go. You'll also tell that he has some audio issues too, so he's a man after our own hearts.
Myself and some machine gunners I served in Fallujah and Ramadi with were on our third deployment. We were in a naval vessel and we pulled in for a Liberty port in Split, Croatia. We went ashore to do the thing that young Marines do, which tends to be carousing and sometimes getting tattoos. We wanted to get something that represented our jobs, our service, fighting in Fallujah and Ramadi as machine gunners. We went ashore, we found a tattoo parlor after a fair amount of heavy carousing, and we found a tattoo on the wall, a piece of flash that looked like a terrifying skull and crossbones. We thought it looked cool, and so we got it. I have had this tattoo for the last 18 years. I re-enlisted into the United States Army with this tattoo, where I was screened for hate and gang-related tattoos. I worked for the State Department as a contractor, where I got a full physical, which included screening my tattoos. I've gone through life with this thing, taking my shirt off, having photographs taken, videos taken. I've been very, very open in my life with the fact that I had a skull and crossbones on my chest, because that's what I thought it was. It's come to my attention that it has a stark resemblance to a symbol that is used by neo-Nazis. And I want to say that was not the intent at all. And the idea that I've been going around with something like that utterly horrifies me. I know that symbols like this can be incredibly damaging to people, and the idea that I've had it all these years and it could have been read like that is incredibly troubling. I have lived a life dedicated to anti-fascism, anti-racism, and anti-Nazism. I think that racism and anti-Semitism are a long scourge on our society and a long scourge on our politics, and I think it has no place in our world. For that reason, I have gone and gotten it covered up. Last night, I went to a tattoo parlor and I got this to cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery around dogs, because my wife Amy and I have two wonderful dogs that we love a lot. This far more represents who I am now than even the skull and crossbones did, which I thought that it was. This has come up because the establishment is trying to throw everything it can at me. It is terrified of what we are trying to build here. Every second we spend talking about a tattoo I got in the Marine Corps is a second we don't talk about Medicare for all. It's a second that we don't talk about raising taxes on the wealthy. It's a second we're not talking about the material struggles of Mainers as they try to scrape through a system that at its core is trying to rob them. And that's why tonight, I'm just going.
John, heard enough. You're muted again,
The
John.
rest of that is a campaign speech, so I'll cut it there. But the point I want to make here is that there have been a lot of people in even recent weeks accused of being a Nazi because they said some Nazi shit in the group chat, because they were on stage and did a Nazi salute 2 times and are the richest man in the world. There have been a lot of examples of this. However, I want to point out a very stark contrast between how the many Republicans who have been accused of having Nazi shit in their present or past have responded. They do one of 2 things. One, they may just say the organization disavows this guy's fired. That might happen. Or B, if the guy's important to fire, they just say, this is not a big deal. It's not what you think it is. It's the mainstream media trying to make us look bad. Don't believe them. What Graham Planner did was say, yes, I acknowledge that I did this. I say it was a mistake. I did not intend to do this. And it horrifies me that I made this mistake. Not just because of how it makes me look, and here's the crucial part to me, but because it might have hurt people just seeing it on my body. I acknowledge the pain that I caused, the harm that I did, and I'm making permanent changes in order to avoid this happening again, right? And he got the tattoo, he got it replaced. Again, you might not believe him still, and I'm not going to sit here and shame you for that. However, I will say that is the stark image of what I want someone to respond to something like this with. Even if it is something in his past and he's like, yeah, dude, I went down a bad pipeline. This is how I want people after MAGA, after Trump. Let's say we live in the good timeline again. And people are like, oh shit, I fucked up by following this shit. That is how I want them to respond. That's exactly the type of apology that they need to make in order for me to forgive them, accept them, and move forward. Would that be good enough for you guys? I'll start with you, TJ.
Yeah, almost. I think it's almost good enough. And I put it that way because first I want to talk about something you mentioned earlier with this, that people are going to have different views on this. And I think a problem that a lot of folks have with politics, especially with like, and maybe it's a recent thing with politicians, how like your heart belongs to this. It's definitely not recent, but they take it personally. So let's say, for example, that you have someone who is absolutely appalled by this and says, I can never vote for Grant Plattner. I think that is my red line. It's a bridge too far. Well, fine, right? That's okay. This is people, they like, this is like a sporting event. If you're trying out and you try to run the 100-meter race and there's something that makes you run a little bit slower, you're not going to make it. Someone else is going to. You just move to the next person, right? Like just because someone doesn't have the particular background to serve in politics, that doesn't mean their life is over, right? You can just move on and do something else. It's not the end of the world. People kind of treat it like that. And but for this guy, I don't trust him for a few reasons. The first reason I don't trust him is that he's a veteran. Fuck that. I don't trust anybody who ever served the United States military. Don't trust him for a second. Second is his apology video was too much apology. I don't know if you guys know what I mean when I say this, but I don't know how long the video was, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. He spent half of it defending himself. That's not how this game works, bro. That is not how this works. You get out there, you say, listen, I was a stupid kid. I was in the Marines. My buddy pointed at a tattoo. We all got it while we were in Fallujah. I thought it looked cool. Turns out it was something I thought it wasn't. Bad idea. Or that was bad because it hurt a lot of people's feelings. You get that shit done in 30 seconds, and then you spend the rest attacking. Like if you've seen anything over the last few years, you don't play defense unless you absolutely have to. This is a case in which you absolutely have to. But talking for 2 minutes, that just makes you look weak. I didn't like that at all. It's far too verbose. And the re-enlistment, who commented? Someone said something here. Colby wrote, TJ, can you remind us about screening tattoos in the Army? It's funny. I was thinking the same thing. The second he said he re-enlisted, I said, oh, well, you re-enlist, they go over all your tattoos. And when you join the first time, they go over your tattoos. Now, I never saw like the manual showing these tattoos are banned, these ones aren't. I don't think there is one actually, but they kind of know, all right, these type of tattoos are associated with this gang, with this element, so on and so forth. So it's not perfect. And plus tattoos are like shit anyway. And just like anything, it's a good old boy network. People like you, they're not going to look over stuff too thoroughly. But what do you think of the apology, Manny?
Yeah, I think you had a great call out on it being long at the end, especially the part where he kind of brought up the establishment. He kind of made it because I felt at first he was very earnest and genuine, and still overall I would say he came off as like earnest overall to me at least. But I think the last part where he started bringing up the establishment almost has a kind of like us versus them kind of rallying cry. I don't know if he was doing that deliberately, but that's kind of the feel that I got. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a lot of moving parts, and like to your point, in regard to like the military screening for tattoos, like how much stuff does slip through the cracks? Like, does Pete Hegseth have some questionable tattoos? You know what I mean? Like just throwing that out there. But yeah, it was just a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm wondering why they had that specific symbol hanging up in a tattoo shop in Croatia. You know, like it's just a lot of questions I have.
I mean, Eastern Europe, or honestly, all of Europe, Central, Eastern, and Western, is going to be a hotbed for Nazi activity somewhere. I don't think it'd be that hard to find. Actually, yeah, I don't think it'd be terribly difficult to run across that. Your last thought,
I will say, like, what an asshole the tattoo guy is. Like, he's got a Nazi symbol on his wall. Some random Americans come in, they're like, yo, give me that one. It looks cool. And he doesn't even be like, yo, by the way, just so you know, before you get this permanently placed in your body. He's like, all right, sounds good, bro. Have fun the rest of your life.
He may have just assumed that these are a bunch of United States Marines. I bet they're Nazis. Like he
bet
may
they're
have just
Nazis.
assumed, just assumed that was just like par for the course for these guys. So yeah, I don't know about that, but that was a pretty entertaining story right there. I like to see how this turns out. See how this turns out with this guy. All right, so we got to pivot to a few other topics here, but I wanted to bring up something we talked about last show, John, with the demolition of the east wing of the White House. Have you seen that it's all gone now? It has been torn completely to the ground. It's all gone.
By the way, he said he wasn't going to touch the White House. He wasn't going to touch any existing structure.
Yeah, such a narcissist.
Yeah. It's great. I saw something that they asked Caroline Leavitt, hey, Donald Trump didn't get like congressional approval or anything like this. He said that he can tear down any building he wants. Is that true? And she said, well, no, he didn't say he can tear down any building he wants. He said that his current understanding of the legality is that he can tear down any building he wants. Okay. Distinction without a difference I've ever heard one. But my favorite part about the destruction of the east wing of the White House to put in this ballroom isn't the hilarious irony of conservatives not standing up to defend history. Now I haven't heard anyone saying, how are we going to know about FDR with the destruction of the east wing of the White House? I haven't heard that at all. My favorite part is that the giant ostentatious ballroom he's putting in is going to be twice the size of the actual White House. That the ballroom he's putting in is going to be 90,000 square feet. The White House itself is only 55,000 square feet. So I can't wait to see this horrendous eyesore at the actual White House and all the pictures and all the public photos of that and everything. And in fact, I don't know if you guys are with me on this. I'll throw it to you, John. I think Donald Trump should go all the way and paint the entire White House gold. I think he's about 2 years away from actually doing that. No one would stop him, and it definitely is something he would do, and he's slowly inching there anyway. What do you think?
It almost feels like if you look at like the progressive goldification of at least the interior of the White House, it seems like in a movie where like someone gets progressively more evil and like they just start getting a little grayer, more wrinkly, their voice starts getting off, and like they just their evilness is personified in their outside appearance. That is Donald Trump's narcissism that we're seeing. He's literally putting a giant fucking fuck you ballroom onto the White House, which, by the way, I've said this before, I don't care about the White House.
Yeah, don't.
Like, at the end of the day, I'm not losing sleep over this, but for all of the fucking like Greek sculpture far right fucking conservatives out there that are like, oh, aesthetics are so important. We've lost aesthetics in our society and we don't build beautiful buildings anymore and all this bullshit. This is such an eyesore. And again, you might even make some sort of practical argument the White House needs a ballroom to host bigger or whatever the fucks. I don't really give a shit. Still, again, you can make that argument. If there's anything we can all agree on is that symmetry is a huge part of beauty. And one of the beautiful parts of the White House was it was nice and symmetrical. It makes nice logo, there's round symbols. This is just going to be a bigger building attached to the smaller building with nothing on the other side to bounce it off. It looks like shit. It isn't even styled like the rest of the White House. It's completely different. It's going to look so atrocious. Can we agree? Again, it's one of those things where you're allowed to have different policy opinions than me. That's fine. But if you can't agree, this looks like an atrocious eyesore. I'm sorry. You're just drinking the pool.
What do you think, Manny?
Yeah, 100%. Like, first things first, it is an eyesore. I like the way you phrase that. This is very like, you remember Austin Powers' Gold Member?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost cartoonish levels of villainy. And it's just interesting that White House press reporter asked like Leavitt if he could do this while he's simultaneously blowing up boats in the Caribbean. Like, he's not asking permission for that. So, like, I don't think permits are really going to stop.
That's true.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, the UN can't stop them, but like I guess the White House HOA will. It's
HOA. Statue of Abe Lincoln.
No, really. I genuinely do have this thought that if I were Donald Trump and I had a cult at my feet, I had the power of all three branches of government, like what would I do? Like, I mean, really, that's why I thought about the gold White House thing, because it does actually seem like something he would do, and nobody would get in his way. Nobody would stop him. The Oval Office, like not the Oval Office. Like what is the room where that's just getting more and more gold? Is it the Oval Office? I can't remember, but it's the Oval Office, yeah, where everything, like every week you look at it, it's just more and more gold. It's like it's what a tacky billionaire from South Florida whose mind is stuck in 1984 would make, right? Like it's exactly what you would expect. But there were always checks on it, and now there's been none. I don't know. This is a good question by Colby. Would it be political malfeasance to not remove every square inch of Trump architecture? This is something I thought about too. They're not going to. Like they're not going to. I mean, if I were president, I wouldn't. I'm not going to waste the time to tear down this building and put something else in there. It'd be a pathetic waste of money and time. It's there for good now. That building's going to be there for 100 years. They're going to be reminded, oh, that's when Trump, put on his. But which, once again, I know a lot of people are upset. I have no like romantic attachment to the East Wing of the White House. I just don't. It just seems like a giant waste of money. But I don't know anything about that. All right,
like, if you try and remove it, TJ. It's such it's you're like, oh, you're just wasting taxpayer dollars to remove this $300 million thing that we just built. Yeah, that would seem big. This is what you do. First, you have to make it symmetrical, put something else on the other side. I don't give a shit what it is. I'm sorry, but it has to be done. Second, you just make it like housing for immigrants. Like make it housing where people seeking asylum, they can come and they can stay in the White House ballroom just as a big giant fuck you. Yeah, we're like, you can no longer attack us for destroying it. We're using it for something good that is going to piss the fuck out of Donald Trump. That's what I would do.
John, are you trying to actually ignite the Civil War? Are you actually trying to ignite the second American Civil War? If you use the ballroom at the White House for immigrant housing, you would have a dozen January 6th.
You're right, we're going to make it a needle share program. That's where all the homeless people in DC go to get their fix.
No chance. I do like your idea of equalizing the symmetry. I think we can make that a new presidential tradition. Like in the Stanley Cup, they keep adding a little bit to it every year. I think the White House should be like that. Every president that comes in puts on a new annex, puts on a new attachment to the building until it's this sprawling, massive complex. Because listen, if you've ever been to DC,
it's the size of the Taj Mahal.
Exactly. Listen, yes, because I don't know if you guys have ever been to Washington, D.C., if anyone listening has, but everyone who goes to D.C. says the same thing about the White House. Wow, that's small. Everyone, whenever you see the White House in person, like that's it. That's the way you see. It's kind of like Mount Rushmore. You see pictures around Mount Rushmore. It's always massive. It's grand. It's spectacular. And then you see it like, oh, it's tiny. White House is that way. I want an actually impressive residence for the president of the United States. So we'll see. I mean, the nation's let me down every other way, but not counting on them to change in the future. We got a little bit of spare time here, and so I wanted to look over this as a wild card. You guys hadn't seen this at all, but I saw this article that stated a poll came out saying that 45% of young men between the ages of 18 and 25 have never asked a woman on a date in person. And I know that the in person is doing a bit of heavy lifting there, but there's no way that those 45% have all just doing, solely online dating. I mean, online dating should be supplementary, not your primary anyway. But I knew the numbers would be bad. I wouldn't have guessed this bad. I would have guessed maybe a third, but half. That seems kind of alarming to me. We'll go to you, Manny. I haven't heard your thoughts on this at all. Like, what do you think about this problem here? Like, what is happening to America's boys, the red-blooded males of the United States?
Yeah, that's tough. Like you said, the in-person is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but like Hinge or whatever isn't going to supplement that, right? To your point. And we've heard, a lot of talks about the male loneliness epidemic, which I think is actually an everybody loneliness epidemic when you factor in. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like when you factor in the pandemic, that changed how a lot of us interacted. And you look at a lot of these young men who went to school during the pandemic, didn't have they did a prom like this, online, as opposed to having those maybe kind of flagship, important social moments. And
Oh no. Oh.
Increasingly isolated society.
Yeah,
we lost.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and I was just wrapping up. But...
No, you're
what do you think, John?
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. man is catching up. He was on a slight delay there, but no, I agree. As someone who actually, I might fall into this category, like depending on how you define ask, because I've been on one like date in my life, and that was set up through Tinder. It was absolutely terrible. I've always hooked up with friends and started dating them afterwards. Like that has been my my relationship journey in my life. So I've never like approached a girl.
Wait, hold on. Stop.
Like
Stop.
I've never really done that.
Stop. This isn't making any sense, John. Hold on. This isn't making sense at all. Okay. So you hooked up with someone and then went on a date later. Did the hookup commence online? Is that where it started, or did it start?
No, like a friend, like someone I know in real life, and then I get to know them. We're at a party, we hook up. Boom. That's so. If that counts, it is. But
yes,
like, I
didn't.
Yes. I think that counts.
Like, I'm saying, how do you find this?
It doesn't say.
I hear that question. I'm like, hey, I went up to this girl and I was like, hey, will you go to prom with me? Like that's I've never done that. So like,
listen, if your initial reaction that led to a romantic or sexual encounter was in person, it doesn't say have you asked a stranger out. It's just have you asked someone out in person. Yeah,
but that's not asking them on a date. Just hooking up with someone doesn't ask them on a date. Like,
but you did later, right?
Like, sure, yeah, we got
what
dinner.
Do you mean,
I don't
sure.
know.
What is this? What's happening here?
TJ, I just people.
Why is John being so cagey with this? I don't understand.
Yeah, you're sprinting before you walk.
Yeah,
that counts.
That's the way you do it, Manny.
Yeah.
Your first steps were a sprint. Your first steps were a marathon. You're good. Yeah.
But no, like the thing here is, so Manny, you did bring up something like the male loneliness epidemic. That's an everyone epidemic, and I do agree with that. That like everyone's like it's a massive epidemic in loneliness because of the pandemic, because of online social behavior, because of all of these different things, because of lack of third spaces to live in for free. Like they just don't exist anymore. But I will say for men in particular, it is harder because men just aren't socialized to like form friendships and relationships and maintain them. Like this is something I had to learn as an adult. Like all of my friends were just my sports friends. And then I stopped playing sports. And I was like, well, now what? And it is something that you don't get taught in the same way that girls are socialized to do from an early age in general. And so the problem is, I feel like a lot of men see that and hear that, and they're like, oh, well, it's not my fault. Then that's it. That's the entire thing. And it's like, no, if you're like feeling bad about yourself because you're not going on dates and you're not asking girls on dates in person, maybe try doing that. It might fail, but you're going to be miserable if you don't just fucking do it. So go do it. That is my advice to all the young men out there who are suffering from the male loneliness epidemic. It is true. It is a real thing. And the power to fix it is entirely within yourself.
Yeah. And I'm just going to add one point. We have, not to cut you off, but we have like less dating leverage, because like to the article's point, we're the ones that have to do the asking. It didn't say when did you go on a date. It said when did you ask to go on a date, because like we're like men are sales, women are marketing. But yeah, I just want to add that tidbit in.
Yeah, it's I wanted to comment on what Mark wrote here about this, that TJ, that is a fascinating stat. Did you kids ask out your significant others in person? So I'm saying that, but I have, right? It's like I have done it. Okay, it's not like a.
Well, TJ, have you done it in the last 18 years?
18 years, of course. What are you talking? 18 years?
Because we're talking 18 to 25-years. I'm sorry. So we're talking 18 to 25-years in this survey. So they've only been able to ask people out, let's say, for 10 years on average. So in the last 10 years, have you done it in person?
Yes, and had I asked someone out by the time I was 25, yes. I mean, that's
by the time you were 25 was a different world.
It's true. I had no choice back then. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but it's just thank you, John. Thank you, John. All right. And Colby says, I assume approaching would be more blind asking out, not already knowing someone. No, once again, never mind. Never mind.
Again, it depends what you TJ. You're just so far out of the game now that you can't even comment on what terminology means anymore.
Oh, come on. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Look, I was single very recently. Okay. So it's not like this is a foreign concept to me. Okay. But like the hookup would be the approach is what I'm saying, right? That would have been the approach part. And then asking on an actual date would come later. Both are in person. I don't see how they don't qualify for this category. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, look, the fact that John, puts the cart before the horse, who cares? It's still in person. So I don't see but yeah, to what John and Manny were saying. Yeah, I agree with Manny is that I like that men are marketing, women are sales. That's really good. Oh, I'm sorry. Men are sales, women are marketing. Yeah. That's really good. And to John's point, now, if you are a young man and you are struggling and you are the problem you're struggling with is two things. Like first, it's fear of rejection. That's the number one thing. Nobody wants to be rejected. It stings. It hurts. When somebody rejects a date, they're not just rejecting the activity, they're rejecting you. And that stings. There's no getting around that. That's not going to get better. It's not. That's just how it is. And the second thing is that you're afraid of coming off as sounding creepy or weird or something like that. And the thing with that is, yeah, you might. You might. I'm sorry. Like you take that chance every time you open your mouth. Every time you engage in conversation with someone, you run the risk of offending them, of them taking it the wrong way, of you saying something that would ostracize them from you. Yeah, that's the risk you take, man. You're going to be fine, right? I mean, like this isn't like and also the same study I saw showed that 75% of women under 25 said they wish they were asked out more. So don't give me the excuse of women don't want to be asked out. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they absolutely do. It's fine. You might try and you might fail, but as John mentioned, I am pretty old and I've tried things and failed and I've been too scared to try. And without exception, I regret the times I didn't try more than the times I failed. And I think pretty much everyone can tell you that you only get one shot at this. So just, go for it. Do the best you can. All right. John, is it time for holidays?
Is it time for holidays? Do we have one more topic we wanted to do?
Do we? We had George Soros. Oh, George Santos. George Santos. How did I forget about that? Thank you so much. Well, listen, George Soros is a longtime listener to this program. Am I right, John?
Yes. No, George Soros. I mean, he gives us checks live on air. It's big billionaire.
He's not joking. We have like some commenter who named his account George Soros, and sometimes he'll send us money on here, which is pretty funny. I gotta love that.
That's hilarious.
But okay, this show has been a trash fire start to finish. So of course I don't have the Santos article pulled up, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. George Santos, for those of you who remember him, he ran for Congress out in New York a few years ago, ended up getting elected. And after his election, all these details came to light that he had been swindling people. He had two names. He committed several crimes. He started a fake company under the name Anthony DeValler or something like that. And John, I can't believe I didn't bring this up when you're talking about the guy in Maine, but you said that the Oppo research, George Santos is actually my go-to with Oppo research. How did nobody catch that in George Santos's Oppo research? This guy has a rap sheet 10 miles long and no one saw anything. Then he gets into Congress. People find out about it. He's expelled from Congress. Donald Trump commuted him. I think I said that he pardoned him, but he actually commuted George Santos. And for no particular reason. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any benefit to anyone out of this. I don't even think any Republicans were clamoring for George Santos to be released. I mean, they kicked him out of Congress. And for those of you wondering, this guy, he set up a charity for a Navy veteran who had a dying dog, saying, hey, this dog, or a sick dog, the dog had cancer, and they were trying to raise a few $1,000s to give this dog an operation. And the guy swindled him, stole all the money. They just stole it all. Hey, it's hard to find a more despicable person or but also hard to find someone who's a better representative of exactly what we deserve in the United States of America. Like, he's a perfect representation of what we deserve as a nation. But Manny, did you hear about this? And what are your thoughts on seeing the freeing of our boy George Santos?
Again, in regards to Trump, par for the course. I think the thing that I find interesting is, like, guys, do we think George Santos would even be a top 25 financial criminal in Congress if we really
No.
like.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So he got caught. He committed crimes. Like you do the time. Well, not in this instance. But yeah, I just find it funny. Like isn't the president a financial fraudster in a lot of ways, or like, you know what I mean? So it's like, or a con artist, I would say. So it's just interesting that he got the hammer in this case, but it being commuted doesn't really surprise me. Birds of a feather flock together. So this par for the course for Trump commuting the sentence.
Yeah, this is one of those like weird stories where on one hand, it's completely indefensible what Trump did. George Santos is a convicted criminal. He's fine for not victimless crimes. As TJ said, he scammed veterans raising money for their sick dog out of thousands of dollars. He was convicted of aggravated identity theft, which I did not know was a crime that one could do aggressive. Like he is a bad person who hurt people, and it's indefensible. There wasn't even a reason given why his sentence should be commuted. Just, yeah, he's a Republican, and yeah, cool, I like him. That's it. And yeah, on the other hand, it's really hard for me to care because I always say, if you're gonna do something wrong, go big or go home. And George Santos, my God, one of the greatest liars of all time. He is such a prolific liar. And again, like, we have a lot of liars in politics, don't get me wrong, but he fabricated his entire identity that got him into the United States Congress. That, my friends, is impressive. I don't care who you hurt, how much you hurt them. I must have respect for that lying game because it is strong. And you see him, and he is so entertaining with his lies. He's not some like boring guy trying to slip under a rug. He's like, he sounds like a flamboyantly gay person. There's pictures of him being like a drag queen, and he's just like, yeah, no, that wasn't me. And then it came like, it was like irrefutable that it wasn't him, and he's like, oh, it was me, but it was only a day. And then it came out that it was like more days, and he just kept lying. I'm just like, I gotta respect this man's game. He just lied his way all the way to Congress. I gotta respect that, even if it hurt.
Yeah, you do have to make that caveat that he is not the first person to lie his way into Congress, which, it does make you wonder why his lies were seen as so egregious. And generally, yeah, he scammed people, he ripped people off, he ruined people's lives. But yeah, he would be, probably the 300th worst person in Congress if you actually lined up the things he actually did. He would, have his work cut out for him to prove how bad he is. One of my favorite things, as always, is reading Donald Trump's comments about this. And Donald Trump wrote about him commuting George Santos, and I want to share that with the good folks here. And Donald Trump says, George Santos was somewhat of a rogue. Once again, in all quotes. I don't know what Trump's deal is with quotation marks and putting words in quotes that don't really belong there, but George Santos is somewhat of a rogue. But there are many rogues throughout our country, exactly what we said, that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. I started to think about George when the subject of Democrat Senator Richard Da Nang Dick Blumenthal came up again. I was like, is there something? Da Nang's in Vietnam, right? I don't know. Is that something?
Maybe. I have no idea where that comes from.
I don't know what that's in reference to. But Richard Da Nang Dick Blumenthal came up again. As everyone remembers, Da Nang stated for almost 20 years that he was a proud Vietnam veteran, having endured the worst of the war, watching the wounded and dead as he raced up the hills and down the valleys, blood streaming down his face. He was a great hero. He would leap to any and all who would listen. And then it happened. He was a complete and total fraud. He never went to Vietnam. He never saw Vietnam. He never experienced the battles there or anywhere else. His war hero status and even minimal service in our military was totally and completely made up. This is a far worse thing than what George Santos did, and at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican. George has been in solitary confinement for long stretches of time, and by all accounts, has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation releasing George Santos from prison immediately. Good luck, George. Have a great life. I love this. I love it so much. And once again, I hate to glaze Donald Trump here and say he's doing something good, but that's how you defend something. You sneak it in there. but then spend the rest of the time attacking. That's where you go. John, had you heard about this thing from Da Nang Dick? I don't know what he's talking about. I'm willing to take him at his word that the guy lied about his military record, but yeah, unknown to me. Nothing to do with George Santos. Nothing to do with George Santos at all.
I've never heard the denying dick thing before. I wasn't curious enough to look into it when I saw the post. But my thought I had when I saw the post, just like, guys, if you are saying, oh, we just must deport illegal immigrants because technically they did break a law coming in here, motherfucker, you can't commute George Santos' sentence. You can't. He broke the law. He broke a much worse law than the laws that an illegal immigrant broke. You can't have both things. You can't say that anyone who's committed a crime must be punished because we are lawful neutral, if not lawful evil. And then just be like, oh yeah, also we're going to commute this guy's sentence because he always voted Republican. Like, that's just, you're just evil. Like, there's no lawfulness about it at that point. Stop using the law as an excuse.
What do you think, Manny?
No, 100%. Like, I like that you brought that up, John. The point that the reason that the rhetoric is so inflammatory around immigrants is like saying that they're criminals, even though they commit crimes at lower rates than actual citizens. But it's like, yeah, it's just very ironic. In regard to Richard, I think Blumenthal was his name.
Yeah, Richard Blumenthal.
My phone. Yeah, I think what happened was he said he served in Vietnam, but he was actually in the Marine Corps somewhere else, maybe like a reserve or something. And, I mean, like, obviously a terrible look, unethical, disrespectful. But stolen valor, and correct me if I'm wrong, TJ, you have to receive like an actual benefit for it to be illegal, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about, like George Santos doing legitimate like wire fraud and money laundering versus, albeit admittedly like shitty thing to do, but probably not illegal. So apples to oranges from the orange man.
From the orange man, yeah. And I don't know. I just wanted to point out it's a great use of deflection, right? This has nothing to do with this Blumenthal guy. You're using it to take a shit. Mike Johnson kind of did this in a more subtle way, but I really liked it when he was asked about the congresswoman in Texas who he hasn't sworn into office. Mm-hmm. He's just putting it off. And whenever people ask him about it, he says the same thing. The first was really funny that, well, I only did that for Republicans and swore them into office because they brought their families up here, which is an absurd excuse. But then he always makes sure to I forget her name, to congratulate her. She says, she won her election. She won her father.
It's Adelita something.
Okay, it's like she won her election. She Griava. Yeah, he says that she won her election. She won her father's seat. That's a very good job. I love that he does that. Like, I love that little jab he throws in there. Like, yeah, she's a Nepo baby. The only reason she won that. That's what you got to do. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, so that's how you got to roll with that. But okay, I want to close things out here with something that John rather rudely says we talk about all the time. John, I don't believe we do this all the time. Oh, what is that noise?
Oh, sorry, it's my background. I got a motor.
Oh, okay. So
Manny's got a motorcycle doing donuts around his house right now.
Unfortunately,
but he is right. I hate to admit it, that one of the topics that are very near and dear to our heart, I feel like we did this like a year ago, talking about holidays and how we treat them. We had, I think, a holiday tier list and everything, talking about our favorite holidays, which ones deserve the recognition they get, which ones deserve all the fanfare and stuff. But one thing we've never done is talking about our least favorite holidays, which I find a lot more fun than talking about your favorite ones because people have their own opinions and their own proclivities. So I found this, I think it was a YouGov poll. I sent it to both of you guys and discussing everyone. Now, this wasn't ranked by holidays. It was ranked by days, which I kind of like even better. It's mostly holidays, but this was a fascinating poll right here. For those of you who can't read it, maybe it's too small. It asks the people about these days of the year and which one is their favorite. Now, the top three on the top left corner are the favorite days of the year. Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Halloween are the top three. The one I have in the arrows are the ones that are the least favorite days of the year. And number one, least favorite day of the year, Juneteenth. Juneteenth as the least favorite day of the year, followed in second place by Super Bowl Sunday. Oh wait, did I put that right? Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday and Halloween. A bottom three I would have never guessed. So we'll go over those at first. Manny, what were your thoughts when seeing the top three least favorite days?
Yeah, when I saw Juneteenth on there, I had to wonder if this is a Fox News poll. Like, where we, I don't know where they got these numbers from. So Juneteenth, I obviously can't agree with. Maybe that pastor we had on earlier in the show would disagree.
Yeah.
Super Bowl Sunday, I could see that because the actual holiday is amazing, but we don't get the Monday off. I think if we did, that would shoot up to probably just behind Thanksgiving. I think Super Bowl Sunday would really shoot up the rankings if we got the following Monday off. And Halloween, I wonder if, again, is this the evangelicals? Are they thinking that's demonic or something? Because Halloween, I think it's a fun holiday despite not getting the day off. So, but yeah, you know, Christmas being number one, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, it was very clear that like the least favorite day ones, it was all people who hated the thing that holiday was about. So for Halloween is the evangelicals, the people who are like, oh, Halloween is dressing up as the devil, and what? It's definitely super religious people there for Halloween, right? That's got to be that. And then for Super Bowl Sunday, it's probably a bunch of people who they're very annoyed by football. They hate the NFL. They hate that their significant other goes balls to the wall for Super Bowl Sunday, and they just don't give a shit about it, right? That's probably that one. And then my favorite, Juneteenth being the number one in not just holidays, the least fit. How racist do you have to be? Because let me tell you, I don't celebrate Juneteenth. I wouldn't know the first thing to do to celebrate Juneteenth. It doesn't bother me. like, there's nothing about it. It doesn't. People don't talk about it. There's not like annoying music. There's nothing. If you don't celebrate Juneteenth personally, it does not affect your life. So if you're saying that it's your least favorite day, the only reason that could be the case is just because you hate black people. Like, that's the only obsessive reason. And it being number one, as you said, not what I want to see, but it's the result we deserve as a nation.
Number one really caught me off guard. I don't know which one I expected to be number one. I did not in a million years expect it to be Juneteenth. And actually, I'll bring it up real quick. It has categories here. Your favorite day of the year, a day you enjoy more than average, a day that you enjoy about as much as an average day, a day you enjoy less than average, and a day that is your least favorite day. Okay, so all honesty, if I'm going to rank Juneteenth, I'm putting it on a day I enjoy more than average because I get the fucking day off. Even if, yeah, right? Like, how I will readily admit that, yeah, I'm happy Juneteenth is good to be celebrated. It's a great accomplishment of the United States, and we're proud of this and something to be commemorated. But it's such a new holiday that there aren't any trappings with it. There's no nationally recognized thing you do on Juneteenth. You know, like Memorial Day, you barbecue. 4th of July, you shoot fireworks. There's nothing like that for Juneteenth, at least nationwide. So, yeah, like, I don't know what to do on Juneteenth. It's like, okay, well, I got the day off. How that couldn't be the overwhelming answer, or I guess it is the overwhelming answer, but how anyone could go is like, no, actually, it's my least favorite day. But I also want to point out that tied for 5th place is Martin Luther King Day at 7%. As like, how it's like tied for 5th place is Martin Luther King Day. I've never met, well, that's not true. I met plenty of people in the 90s who didn't like Martin Luther King Day, but all those people of trans was, okay, that was their least favorite day of the year. Now it is Juneteenth. So there's a definite coalition there of people who just really, really hate black people, and we're jumping at the opportunity to share it with other folks.
DJ, you know what that actually tells me?
What?
If one or the other didn't exist, let's say that Martin Luther King Day didn't exist, Juneteenth would be sitting there at over 20%. That is really sad.
Yeah. It's that is Charlie Kirk made a post. May he rest in peace. Charlie Kirk made a post this June where he wrote, Juneteenth is not a real holiday. Everyone at Turning Point USA will be reporting to work today. No reason for that. Nobody asked him to do that, but yeah, That's just kind of good. Go ahead, Manny.
No, I was just agreeing. Like, just it was very performative. But with the Juneteenth post, one thing I found interesting about the data on here is that they have Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day commingled. So I'm wondering what that would have looked like broken out as
Oh,
different
that's a
days.
good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. If you would have separated those, Columbus Day would have probably run away with it. Columbus Day would have or Indigenous Peoples Day. I guess it depends. Maybe Indigenous Peoples Day. America is more racist than we admit sometimes. But one that jumped out at me was what was it? Father's Day is at 8% as your favorite day of the year. How is Father's Day?
You're a father. Like that's just father saying that.
It's just the fathers. Yeah.
What do you mean? How?
All right. No, here's why. This is why. Because Father's Day. Listen, look. All right, Father's Day is no Mother's Day. Okay, okay. Father's Day is way down the list of holidays, and Father's Day always bugged me as a kid because Mother's Day is great. Mother's Day, you get flowers, you get a card, you go to church, you get mom a nice hat or something. She loves it, and she's fawning all over it. Everyone's celebrating their mom. They hand out roses. There's all these every commercial you'll see on TV tells you how much money stay-at-home moms should make. They should all make $200K because they're gardeners and psychiatrists and chefs. Nonsense. But anyway, you see all this on Mother's Day all the time. Father's Day, I have no idea what to get my dad. No clue at all. I know anything I get him a tie, I get him a book, I get him a tool. He'll be like, "Oh, great, thanks. That's nice." Dads don't even care about Father's Day. That's and I realized that very quickly. That fathers are like, "Oh yeah, I guess it's nice, but if you get me something, fine. If you don't, whatever." So that's why I was surprised to see it ranked that high because who out there is saying that they love Father's Day? In my experience, it's not the dads. Was it different with your dad, John?
No, I have the same experience with Father's Day as you do. Essentially, it's just like my dad was actually pretty easy because it was just like we would just take him to play whatever he was into. We went to Top Golf, or I want to go bowling, or whatever he wanted to do. That's just what our gift is. Maybe we'll get him a sweatshirt. Nice and easy day. My mom was the difficult one. It still is the difficult one to shop for because she doesn't really have hobbies. She reads books, but you can only get her a book for Mother's Day so many years in a row before you start feeling bad about it. So that's always been my case. But I agree with you. Mother's Day is the holiday. Father's Day is just a shoot, a throw in. Yeah, well, I guess since we have the Mother's Day, we're gonna have a Father's Day too. But yeah, I mean it's the 8%. That said, they're just fathers. They're like, I guess Father's Day is pretty cool for me. Probably new fathers too. Probably fathers of people of kids under 8 years old. I would imagine that's what you got there. That makes sense. I was also thinking, well, who's against? Because there's people who are against Father's Day. their dad's probably dead. That's probably the reason it's going to be.
Yeah. So all right, yeah. So I had this thought too, John, as I saw that people's least favorite day of the year. 4% said Mother's Day. And 4% said Father's Day. I say, how is that your least? Oh, it's okay. If they pass away or something and it's a sore spot, okay, I can see how that one would be pretty heavy on you. But what do you think, man? The Father's Day thing. What are your thoughts on it? It makes perfect sense to me.
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head in regards to my dad's kind of the same way. Father's Day, it's it's chill, it's nice, but it's not a big deal. And I feel kind of the stereotype, guys don't even really like to celebrate their birthday a lot type of deal. So much less Father's Day. And the 8% that you're seeing is probably like John said, just new fathers, guys that are, haven't had many Father's Days under their belt. But to this point, after you buy a parent, in your case, John, your mom, a book, for every Mother's Day for a decade, it's kind of okay, what's next? So I think those are those, new fathers.
What you mentioned about men and days and how we just don't. I was kind of surprised being an adult and finding out how common this was, that all guys are kind of this way, that you look at women and they have their birthday weeks or their birthday months. They really give a shit about that. We don't. You have your milestone birthdays, I turned 18. I turned 21. I turned 30. Who really cares after that? I don't. My girlfriend asked me, my birthday's next month. She's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? It's like, Yeah, I don't really know. The same answer I have every year. Every year, I
Yeah.
don't really have either. What you got for us, John?
This is the first year where like I actually have plans for my birthday because it happens to fall on the same day as the Eagles game. So I'm like, you know what we're doing? We're tailgating. That's my birthday.
I love it.
So I wanted to bring up first of all the worst holiday, grossly misrepresented as the worst holiday on that list.
Let's go.
That's my favorite day of the year, New Year's Day. New Year's Day is the worst day of the year. This is why. You probably just had a lot of time off. So you are having the worst Sunday scaries that you could possibly have. If you had Christmas, you had everything. It's like, oh, all of that shit that I put off till after the holidays, tomorrow is after the holidays. And I'm super hungover. And there's nothing really fun going on today. It's just a day everyone takes to recover. Worst day of the year, bar none. I'm really upset that there wasn't more. But my question for you, TJ, is did you scroll down that article to see the different like bifurcations they made in the data?
Oh, what you got? What'd you find?
So this is Democrats and Republicans. And I think it we'll say it confirms our theories.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
This is the percent of each who said it is either worse than the average day or their least favorite day. Juneteenth. 11% of Democrats say it is worse than the average day, which also a little surprising. 42% of Republicans, worse than the average day or their least favorite day of the year. 42%. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Mind blown,
Yeah.
TJ. I can't imagine giving a shit. Even if I was like, I don't think Juneteenth should be a federal holiday. Even if I thought that, I still wouldn't be like, this. It's a day off, motherfucker. Like, how could it be worse? You're doing nothing. There's no annoyance. There's no one's around you celebrating. Like, how racist do you gotta be?
You know, it's
apparently 42% of Republicans.
You know what's so interesting about this data? I'm looking at all the deltas between the left and the right, and the one that sticks out to me right now is Valentine's Day.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That's a good point. Wow, I wonder what's up with that. I don't have an answer for that one.
You know what I think? Do. Yeah, go ahead, John. I want to see if you come up with the same answer.
More women are Democrats, and women give much more of a shit about being single on Valentine's Day than men do. And so the single women who are Democrats are like, that's my least favorite day of the year because it always makes me sad. That's got to be it.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yep, that's good.
Data science, baby.
That's why they pay us the big bucks, Manny.
That's another one that's not particularly surprising. Earth Day at 23% for Republicans and 10% for Democrats. Not shocking, but I got to say, I'm almost with the Republicans on this one. I don't give a shit about Earth Day. Maybe it's not one of my least favorite days, but I'm reminded it's Earth Day. It's like, oh, great. It's like Arbor Day or something. So I just don't give a fuck about it at all. I'm supposed to celebrate, the environment and Earth, but I just don't see a reason on it. Okay, so Manny, what is your least favorite holiday?
My least favorite holiday. I wanted, see, that's the thing, because when I was looking at this, Columbus Day is commingled with Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah. So I have to say, probably Election Day, given what's going on right now.
that was my least favorite day of 2024. I will for last year it was the worst.
That might be my least favorite, or Super Bowl, because we don't get the Monday off. Like it's to John's point with New Year's. Like it's just a day that with big time Sunday scaries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're gonna add another game. President's Day should have just been moved instead of we have to add another game to the schedule. But they're gonna add another game to the schedule. After that, no more. But I want one more just so we have President's Day after Super Bowl Sunday, the way it always should have been.
I want to first talk about the Super Bowl Sunday thing. I wrote it down. Forgot to mention this. That you're right. I can see people, I don't know, like, is that really a reason to rank it low because you don't want to go to work the next day? But in the Army, if you join the United States Army, ladies and gentlemen, you won't get the day off after the Super Bowl, but you will get a late work call. When I was in the Army, every single year, without exception, the Monday after the Super Bowl, work started late, like 3 hours late, because they knew everyone would be out, with a party or thing. Not only that, in the United States Army, I sound like a recruiter now. Not only that in the U.S. Army, but every holiday is a 4-day weekend, essentially, in the Army. That if you have a holiday that lands between Thursday and Tuesday, you not only get that holiday off, but you get a training holiday, they call it, which is just an additional day you get off. So if there's 11 federal holidays, that's 22 days off you have in the year in the United States Army, along with showing up late for Super Bowl Sunday. So yeah, just want to throw that out there for the Army, that they do take care of you on the holidays right there. But John, I can't believe I didn't think about this. I mean, of course, we asked like, what was your least favorite holiday? And this doesn't really count. But New Year's Day, I still have a hard time ranking low because I'm still off. And I don't drink anymore, so I'm not hungover, but I'm still off. And I might be tired. But January 3rd, January 4th, like whatever the day you come back from your vacation, that day is shit. Every single year, you start off the year with all the shit you left behind, the stuff that you put off mid-December, honestly, because Christmas is essentially a 2-week-long holiday. And yeah, you get that mountain of work dumped back on top of you. Absolutely. That's crushing. So I have a hard time arguing with you there. As far as actual holidays that are my least favorite, I don't know. The Valentine's Day is one. I do like Valentine's Day a lot, but
I love how you were like, guys, we got to talk about our least favorite holidays, and didn't have one on deck ready to go.
Well, no, Earth Day was the one I was going with, but I already talked about that one, Earth Day, because it's not really. Not really a holiday, but it's hard to contradict myself by shitting on a holiday that I actually have off, which would be, I guess Columbus Day would be the one I would go with, obviously, but I don't have Columbus Day off anymore. But still, Columbus Day sucks. No reason we should honor that guy. Any final thoughts on holidays, John?
No, I mean, this is our final holiday talk until next week. When
next week we'll bring up again. It wasn't more holidays. I know we'll be good at it.
Holidays are great.
Right.
Like holidays, they are such a political thing inherently. Like
apparently, yeah.
We first of all, I mean, the federal holidays are from the like that. That's obviously political, but like holidays themselves are practiced politics in a way. It is a time where your community has to come together and agree on how we are celebrating this thing. It has tradition mixed in with people wanting to do new things. Like holidays are a microcosm of politics in many, many ways that have evolved over generations. And I think that's part of why we talk about them so much. It's because they're a lot of fun to talk about. They also bring us all together. We all celebrate New Year's Eve, New Year's Day in some way, shape, or form, and we do it differently. And I think that's cool. I think it's a lot of interesting shit to talk about when it comes, we got a lot of bullshit holidays, but like I do think they're a very interesting part of human culture.
All right, great. All right, how about we close up shop here, John?
All right, well, thank you for being here for this episode of The Left Wing. If you have not liked and subscribed, make sure to do that because we go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:35 EST. So if you hit that bell icon, you will know when you're live, you'll know when you can jump in the comments, and you will know when you'll be able to ask us questions. Until then, if you guys liked our guest today, Manny, how about you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm Delamo Manny. You can see it spelled under my header, but for those listening with audio, it's DELAMOMANNY, and that's my username. This on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are my primary social medias. And yeah, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
It sounds great. Thank you so much, Manny. Folks, this episode today was brought to you by Comedy and Politics. We are funny and we have great political insight. We'll catch you later.
All right, guys.
All right. Good game, folks. Thanks.